trying to join in. All right, we're gonna be moving along. Okay, so first of all, welcome back to school. Every year I have this slide in and I'm like, woohoo, welcome back. And it's like all cool because the students are sitting on the hill, right? And we do this every year except for last year. But this year, I mean, really welcome back because it has been a long time since we have seen students. And again, I will say over and over and over again how grateful I am as your head of school, but also as a mom of a student at the school, that we are able to provide in-person education at least 2 days a week. And I want to make it very clear that this comes at quite a cost to your staff members because they are committed to like wiping desks and basically having no lunch and doing everything they possibly can. There's like a little breach of contract going on. So I appreciate the fact that they're willing to work with me to make sure that we could come up with a plan to bring you back because we are dedicated to doing that. And my teachers are so good live. They're great virtual, but they are really in their element live. So it is exciting. Did Steven make it back online by the way? Someone give me a head. Okay, Steven's waving at me. Great. Okay, so moving on. And you guys are monitoring chat. So if there's something that comes up, please don't hesitate to jump in or we can hit it when it's appropriate. And here we go. All right, so here's kind of our agenda. We're gonna start off with this year's theme and I'll need like a drum roll. I forgot to put a drum roll image in, darn it. And then we're gonna do a little bit of bragging because this is the only time in my state of the school, which is what I call this because that's what they do in fancy private schools. They call it the state of the school. We're gonna go over the schedule one more time. And I'm gonna remind you, I'll say it now as if it's a heads up, but I'm gonna remind you that I still expect students to be on time. And so we're gonna talk about the attendance policy even though it's 2 days a week. We'll talk about Canvas. That's my special guest. Rochelle Galang is going to talk to you all about Canvas. You'll meet our staff. You'll meet Miss Bellairs if you haven't already. And then I'll just give you a brief update on our parent involvement team, which is in place of our PTSA. And then I will launch you on your way this evening. So that is kind of the agenda for today. So super excited to see everyone here. So this year's theme, you probably already caught on. I've been hitting it in other emails. So if I could get some drum roll from my staff panelists, maybe please, even though like, yeah, I can see it, great. This year's theme is Oakland Early College is more than a school, it is an experience. And that is why we are so excited to be able to provide this experience to your students. It would be a wonderful virtual experience, but the beauty of OEC is the connectedness of the community, the instant access to any social needs that students have, social emotional needs, and the webbing in all of those pieces of more than just the academics, of making those connections and helping your student grow as a person and grow into a wonderful academic but wonderful adult. So Oakland Early College, more than a school, it is an experience. So one of the things you're going to hear me say a lot is go team, right? Because together everyone achieves more and we truly are a team. I can't think of a more important time than to be a team than in the midst of this pandemic. And we appreciate all your support. I have to be honest, as a parent body, you have been very gracious and very patient with us, especially me. So I know that in some of the other districts, other buildings, there's been some pushback on items. And if you have had some questions or concerns, you have been very kind about addressing those. So I just appreciate that you know how much we love your students and how hard we are working to make sure they have an amazing experience and are still learning, which is like really one of the most important pieces. So opening weeks, instead of our opening week, usually we do a lot of activities in our opening week, but now we're spreading them out amongst focus classes. But opening weeks, or should I say, our opening games. Da-da-da-da. That's not the Olympic, I don't know the Olympic, da-da-da-da-da-da. Is that the Olympics theme? Okay. Lisa, would you please talk about the Olympics that are happening at OEC, even though they're happening nowhere else in the world, only at OEC are we able to bring you the Olympics.
Yes. Hello, I'm Mrs. Maddalena. This year, Mrs. Bellairs and I have taken on the duties of the student government advisor. Mrs. Bellairs will be the lead advisor and I will be her co-advisor. And every year we collaborate and work together. I as the NHS advisor as well. And Mrs. Bellairs is now my co-advisor in NHS, team together to create some sort of opening initiatives to create a sense of community for our students, especially our brand new students, and give them opportunities to meet others. This year, it's our OEC Olympics 2020. We started the Olympics in 2012, and every 4 years we open the school year with the Olympics, just like the Summer Olympics would normally run. Their game, the original Olympics have been postponed this year, but we have not postponed. But we are safely, strategically participating in our Olympic Games through our focus classes with social distancing, and all of our scores and competitions are being posted in the front glass display cases, and Olympic medals are already being awarded. So please encourage your students to check those, the display case every day when they come in. Back to you, Mrs. Newman.
Thank you. Oh, darn it. Didn't want to go to that. No, don't look, don't look. Okay, thank you. Mr. Heffelbower actually covered his eyes. I just want to explain some of these pictures. So this amazing chalk drawing was part of the Olympic Games. And if you follow my Twitter, which of course everybody does, you would have watched students have a piece of chalk, right? They were all in these, I don't know what to call them, parking lot stalls. And they had 15 seconds to draw, and then they had to move over to the next picture with their own piece of chalk, so social distancing still intact, and no like crossing of stuff. And then they had to add to the picture. So it was really exciting to watch the students look at something or talk to each other and add to the picture. Up here in the corner are students at lunch. I know some of you had a panic moment when I sent out an image of people with masks off that were eating, because I didn't specify that it was at lunch. But here we are outside. They try to get outside as much as they possibly can. If you choose to stay inside, these are the magnets that I use to assign rooms for lunch, where we do write down who's in the room so that we have contact tracing. But each student did make their magnet. And this fancy award, if you could give a round of applause to Miss Bellairs, because she helped our school win this fancy We Are Awesome, because almost all of our students completed the FAFSA award, and it is a very hard award to earn. Plus, look how pretty it is, like, right? It came in the mail, it's gorgeous. Okay, so those are those images. Now I can click. Bragging rights, because I get you, and you can just have to smile because this is your school too. So first, let me give you some college statistics. As a team tomorrow, we're actually looking at some of this data, but I wanted to make sure that you understand that our students are graduating high school at the end of 13th grade with an average of 54 credits per graduate, which is a lot. And the average college GPA is a 3.2, which is pretty stellar considering they're carrying their high school and their college all at the same time throughout their careers. That's pretty exciting. Much higher GPA than the average OCC student. And that's a ton of credits to have at like age 19. And then the percent of our students that earn an associate degree, it varies every year, but it's about 1/3 of our graduating class actually earn their college degree in addition to their high school diploma. So that is pretty exciting. And that's been pretty consistent for us for the last over a decade. So one of the things I'd like to draw your attention to is there are websites that talk about different schools, and greatschools.org did give us a 10 out of 10 overall score, and particularly highlighted the areas of college and career readiness and equity awareness, which I thought was really cool. Both of those are obviously very important to us. And we even received a badge, right? I didn't get it in the mail because I would have pinned it to my whatever I was wearing every day if I did, but we did receive a badge that is virtual on their website. So yay, go us. MLive, this is one that I talked about last year because they didn't have the opportunity to do it this year. But MLive every year lists the public high schools with the highest SAT scores. And just to give you an idea, there are about 1,700 public high schools that could possibly be on this list. In 2018, we were ranked, they listed 60 schools, and we were ranked 40, again, out of 1,700. And the average SAT score was 1,122.2. And again, we're a school where really, we make everybody take the test, right? Because you have to take it, except for this last year, to be able to graduate. It's not a graduation requirement for this upcoming group. In 2019, boom, right? We moved from number 40 to number 22 with an average SAT score of 1148. And mind you that our students come in all over the map with who they are when they come in as an academic, and we always take great pride in taking whoever they are and moving them forward as an academic. College helps with that because it really makes you kind of wake up because it's the real world. Unfortunately, this year, right, this past spring, we don't have data for that, so I can't tell you where we ranked in 2020 because there isn't any. But as my fillers did for me, remember that we do have the SAT coming up on Wednesday the 23rd, and also the PSAT 8-9. I don't mean to leave you out, but the text box just nice if I balanced it this way. And then there's the PSAT coming on the 29th. I had to close, so I sent an email telling you I was closing the opt-in for the SAT. If you still fill in the opt-in, I cannot guarantee you a spot, but I will do first come, first serve for whoever's left. But that was, again, based on staffing. So if you did fill it in after 4:45 this morning, because that's when I closed it, and that might be where that 4 o'clock time frame came from, then you will know that I will reach out to you if we have a spot for you. Again, in case you missed it, you must opt in, because we have to have a record that you have opted in. We can't look like a school that makes you take the test. So I have to have a document that shows that you said, yes, I would love to take the SAT or the PSAT on record. Next. Some of you have still not had the opportunity to pick up your Chromebook. Technology has been very gracious. They have offered multiple dates. I am telling you, this is the last time you can pick up a Chromebook. Otherwise, it is going to be a very rough go trying to get you a Chromebook. So this Thursday and Friday, they heard you that you needed at least a little bit more time. So they will be in the West Bloomfield High School parking lot from 9 to 11 this Thursday and this Friday. So make magic happen if you don't already have a Chromebook, because they really have had multiple dates. And every student is supposed to have a district Chromebook. Even if you choose not to bring it to school and bring your other computer, the district wants you to have their Chromebook so they can push stuff through the Chromebook. When you need it, they know you have it. And they have to show that they're providing access for everyone. So that's really where the push comes from, is part of our return to learn plan. So with that being said, because Rochelle Galang is my guest today, I've asked her to kind of speak at the beginning of the session, and she's going to kind of talk about Canvas. Canvas is our new learning management system. We used Google Classroom last year. Some of you on the call with us today weren't with us, so I don't know what you used, but we have switched to Canvas. And I want to be very clear that that means we, as in the whole staff, has switched to Canvas. So they're still experimenting. They're still, adjusting to use like phrases, especially that, Ms. Maddalena has used before, like we're piloting, we're, lab school, we're running the experiment to use Canvas. So please continue to be gracious with us and reach out when you have questions. But I brought you an expert. She's going to talk to you about logging in. And then as a staff, we're excited because we'll get to see what it looks like from the observer view. And you'll get to see what you should be able to see once you log in. So let's see. Now the chore is I have to make you a co-host.
So that I can share my screen. All right, well, while she's doing that, hello everyone. My name is Rochelle Galang. I'm a technology integration specialist with Oakland Schools in partnership with West Bloomfield. And hello I see some people saying hi in the chat. They remember me from doing some technology stuff during their Abbott days. So hello to you. And yes, even though we are transitioning to Canvas as a learning management system, that doesn't mean that Google is out the window. Google integrates seamlessly with Canvas, so Google Docs, Google Slides, Google Sheets, you name it, Google Forms, all of that is able to be integrated into Canvas. Right.
Okay, so not that we've had any technology issues at all thus far, but I cannot make you a co-host. So I texted Dan, and we're gonna wait like a couple seconds, but then because Rochelle had a backup plan, I can pull up her presentation. It would just cause me to go out of mine. Wait, Dan is texting back. He said all set. See if you can share now. Do I have to stop sharing first?
I got it.
Okay.
All right. Are we good? Can everyone see that? All right. So when you log in, it's a specific URL that you have to go to get to Canvas. So it's West Bloomfield SD, which is very easy to miss. West Bloomfield SD for school district.instructure.com. And this is what the login screen will look like. This is the same login screen for observers, as well as teachers and parents, students. So in the upper right-hand corner, if you are a parent, you'll need to sign up for a Canvas account to set up your observer account. And so you would click that and put in your email and set your own password. But there is one little tricky step to this. It'll ask you for a student pairing code, which I'll go into in a second. But like I said, this login screen is the same for students and teachers as well. So once you do have an account and you are set up, you would just log in from here. If you don't know what your login credentials are, you can always check that in PowerSchool. So when you click Parent Sign Up, this is the window that'll pop up. It'll show you fields for your name, your email, your own password, and then that student pairing code I talked about. Now, if you have multiple children, you only need one of their student pairing codes to initially sign up to be an observer. Once you are created with your observer account, then you can go in later and add other children's pairing codes so that you can be an observer of multiple children. So once you do that, your child will need to log into Canvas first to get that pairing code for you. So when they log in, they would click on their account information first and then go to settings. And then there's a fancy dancy button called Pair with Observer. And when they click that, it generates a pairing code. Now, one thing to note is that that pairing code regenerates every time they go in. So it makes the most sense to go in and do this with your child next to you in live time because those pairing codes do time out as well. So once you get that pairing code, you'll write it down. It is case sensitive, so you do have to use capitals and lower cases. And then once you have that, you go back to your parent sign up page and put that in the last spot. Like I said, if you have more than one child, once you have your observer account, you can log into Canvas and click on your account and go to your settings. And there's a special space for observing where you can add more students. So if you have another child, they would have to go into their Canvas and get a student pairing code for you. And then you would get that code from them and add them to your Canvas as an observer. Now that's really nice because when you are logged in, you see this dashboard. And on this dashboard, there are different cards, very similar to Google Classroom. And each card is a child's course. And if your child has multiple courses, you'll see all of the courses that your child is enrolled in. To actually see inside of a course, you would click into that card and then you'd be able to see all of the details with assignments and due dates, upcoming events, things in there. The left-hand side of the dashboard, we have this bar that goes up and down, is where we can also go to a list view of all of our courses. But the calendar is going to be your one-stop shop for an overview of all assignments, events, everything coming up, because you can, similar to Google Calendar, you can overlay those calendars for every single course. So if you see here, I'm viewing multiple courses in one spot with a month overview. I can also change that to be a week at a glance or an agenda, which is sequential. And then you can also just view one calendar at a time. So let's say you have two kids, Amy and Joey. If you want to see just Joey's courses, you can click on the boxes and turn off Amy's just to kind of see what Joey has going on. If you want to see just Amy's, you could do the same thing. And if you want to see both together, you can leave them all turned on all at once. So that is going to be your one-stop shop as an observer to kind of see an overview of what is going on in your kids' Canvas. So there is also a mobile app that is separate just for parents. So if you go to the App Store and you're looking for Canvas, you'll see one pop up for teachers, you'll see one pop up for students, and then you'll see one pop up for parents. And logging into that, you'll have to do after you've already created an observer account. If you download the app and try to create an observer account from here, it's not going to quite work as well. So you're going to go and download the app, you would find your school, and then again, it's that West Bloomfield SD, which is really easy to miss, to find our login. And then you would log in with your observer account and you would see the same tiles that you see when you log in on a computer. This is a little overview video. Can we hear that?
Meet Amy Pandison. Amy has two kids, Tucker and Jane. Tucker is in the 8th grade and loves world history. Jane is in the 3rd grade and enjoys science projects. Their school uses Canvas to facilitate student learning. Amy wants to be involved in her kids' education, not to do it for them, but to help them be successful and build confidence as learners. Amy wants to check their grades, view assignment due dates and the instructions, follow Amy and Tucker's calendars, and communicate easily with teachers. Amy hears about the Canvas parent app in an email from the school. Both kids' teachers use Canvas and want to make sure parents can easily stay connected. Amy searches for Canvas Parent in the App Store for her mobile device. After it downloads, Amy searches for her school district in the search bar. When she finds it, she then sees the option to sign in. Amy does not have her own Canvas account yet, so she selects Parents of a Canvas User, Create Account. She enters her name, her email address, and creates a password, but does not have a student pairing code. Tucker creates a pairing code from his account by opening his account settings from the global navigation bar. He selects Pair with Observer and gives that code to Amy. She can now see Tucker's classes and grades on the app's home screen. Jane is still in elementary school, so Amy gets her pairing code from Jane's teacher and easily adds it on the app. Now Jane is all set up with the Canvas Parent app as her sidekick in supporting her kids' education. To make sure she stays up to date on both kids' accounts, Jane sets up her alerts and notifications. On her phone or tablet, Amy selects Manage Students and then selects Tucker. She sets her preferences on when and about what she would like Canvas to alert her. She does the same for Jane. As Amy finishes choosing her notification settings, Jane comes bounding into the house without the coat she was wearing when she left for school. On the app, Amy opens her inbox, selects Jane's class, and sends a quick message to Jane's teacher about the missing coat. That night, before sitting down to dinner, Amy checks Tucker's classes and grades. He's doing pretty well. She also checks the calendar and notices that Tucker has a test coming up in a few days, and then helps Tucker organize his notes and create a study plan after dinner. She notices in her alerts section an announcement about a field trip to the local museum for Tucker's World History class, and a request for volunteer parent chaperones. Amy sends a quick message through the Canvas inbox to volunteer as a chaperone. Amy glances at the calendar and notices that Jane has a science project coming up. She looks at the assignment and notices a list of supplies and instructions for how to submit the assignment. Amy sets a reminder to buy the supplies. That night, Jane sits at the computer with Amy and they make a plan for Jane's project. Later that week, Amy helps Jane finish the project and helps her submit before the due date. After a long week of extracurricular activities, Amy sees a notification on her Canvas parent app about a missing assignment in one of Tucker's classes. She reads the instructions posted on Canvas and asks Tucker how she can help him complete the assignment. That night, Amy sits with Tucker and helps him upload a picture to submit his assignment. Even though the assignment is still flagged as late and Tucker lost some points, it's still turned in for grading. Like Amy Pandison, you can also support your students' learning and know what's going on in their academic lives. You can download it for free in your app store. You can also log on to Canvas as an observer through your web browser. Also, check out the Canvas guides for observers in the Canvas community.
So as you can see, it doesn't really matter if you're on the mobile app or on a computer, you're going to be able to view your child's courses all in one spot. So it doesn't matter what device you're using, it's just a personal preference. And it's much more robust than what you would see from Google Classroom Guardian summaries, right? Like you can actually go into the course and see all of these assignment details and things like that. I shared this slide deck with Miss Newman so that it can be shared with you guys at the completion of tonight's event so that you can revisit it yourselves as you get started and set up with your Observer account. I also included some extra links that I'm not going to go over it tonight as a resource, but I wanted to give you guys some extension and for those of you who are ready for some more information. So I have student pointers and guides in here. Like they mentioned in that video, the Observer guide, there is also a guide that exists for students that has all the possible questions you could possibly think of. Does Canvas do this? How do I do X, Y, and Z in Canvas? What do I click? It's all included in the guides. So I have those linked here as well. They are a little bit overwhelming because they're really packed with information, but they scaffold it down well to sort through topics you might have questions about. So I have some links here for students that you can use to support your child in their learning. And then I also, for you, have your own slide as parents with resources for you to understand Canvas a little bit better. There's some overview videos, the guide as well, and then a couple webinars that were actually put on from Canvas for parents and observers. So those are really good if you have a little extra time to jump in and see those. But like I said, all of these slides that I've been sharing with you today, Ms. Newman has them so that you guys can see them for yourself and click into them and rewatch videos, pause, click on these extra resources. So that is all I have for you on Canvas today. I haven't been checking out the chat. Do we have any crazy questions in the chat?
We do have, and I think everybody can be seen right now because we're like in the Brady Bunch formation right now, just so everybody knows. Everybody wave. Isn't that what they did in the show? Okay, yeah. So one of the questions is in the phone app. First of all, some of you have asked some very playful questions and I appreciate it. You didn't get to see everybody smiling, so thank you. One of the questions was, in the phone app, can you look at the calendar in an overview or only on daily?
You can change the way the view is for the calendar. It's the example from that video was the agenda view. So it was like sequential daily, but you can customize that view in the app too.
I have some questions just because, of course, since my son goes there, we've been playing around with some stuff. And then I've also had questions that I've heard like just in passing in the halls. And one of the questions posed in the chat was, are group A and B different? And the teachers, I believe, so I'm gonna look for them to shake their head, they're really working hard to make sure they've set up sections in their classes. So like group A's due dates will look different than group B's, but they're only gonna push things to group A, and then group B will get their own push of information so the calendar won't get messy. So our teachers are attending that. If there's something that's mixed up, just email us because again, we're learning, but you don't have to worry about seeing group A's deadlines necessarily. And I mean, we're working on it, but really ultimately it would just be, you would see group B's stuff. So you don't have to worry about that piece. I have a question just because a lot of our parents have like students now with West Bloomfield School District, but also maybe in another district. Does Canvas pair two different districts together if both school districts use Canvas, or do you have to log in separately for that?
You would have to create another Observer account for a different school district because the steps to log in are specific to West Bloomfield, right? You're visiting westbloomfieldsd.instructure.com to log in, whether that's on the computer or in the app, you're still logging into like West Bloomfield's Canvas. So for instance, if you had family members in other school districts, you would have to create an account for observing within their school district.
Okay, so two other questions that I see in the chat, and then I want to give a shout out and remind everyone that PowerSchool is still our grade of record. PowerSchool is where our transcripts come from, which isn't working for us yet. So teachers did try to put some grades in today, but I want to be very clear and tell you that all of the grades for your student will not necessarily exist in Canvas, just the assignments that are coming through Canvas. And a teacher might decide to give, let's say, a pretest on something like factoring, because who wouldn't want to take a pretest on factoring? I do actually. But they might give you a pretest, and let's say that you get a 5 out of 7 on the pretest. That doesn't necessarily mean that's a grade that's going into PowerSchool. It might just be an indicator of how well somebody did in an assignment. So PowerSchool is still going to be our formal record of grades, so you still want to be checking PowerSchool. Canvas will give you information on what's in Canvas. But there are a couple questions here. Can an observer see assignments a student has handed in?
They can see that they have submitted, that they've completed an assignment, but I don't think they can actually click in to see what was submitted.
Okay.
Um,
And for my kid, poor Will, because I have admin clearance, but that would just be poor Will. But continue, please.
and then I saw another question pop up about the rocket ships and document images. So that's a good point to bring up. Those little icons are indicators of what type of component that is in your child's course. So a rocket ship indicates a quiz, and the little document icon indicates that it's an assignment to do. So within a module in Canvas, which is essentially is like the teacher's lesson plan and flow of what they're teaching, a module can have multiple components. So they can have a few rocket ships and a few documents in there, or maybe only one quiz. So those indicate the type of component that's in the module.
And someone asked, it seems a little odd to have PowerSchool and Canvas having to navigate both. I understand. However, Canvas is what we're using really for our virtual world. Some of our teachers are going to use it in a live format as well. But for example, if you were to take a test sitting in a seat live, that is all information that is not necessarily a Canvas assignment, so it doesn't get logged into Canvas. Canvas will talk to PowerSchool eventually. They're still working. I think everybody in the world is trying to use everything at the same time. So there's some glitches that have like created in the pandemic. But PowerSchool is where our transcripts come from. So all of our grades have to be live in PowerSchool to where we input the college grades at the end. So that is really where you want to be looking. But I would be monitoring Canvas to see how students are doing on assignments that are turned in there. But they're also going to be activities that are done in the classroom that are not part of the Canvas portal. Some of your teachers, all the grades might show up in Canvas, but that is not necessarily how we're set up to do business. Could you talk about, before I get to some of these questions, there have been some questions from students on the submit button, because sometimes I feel like they have to hit submit first before they actually start an assignment. It's not just—
Yeah, it's a little counterintuitive depending on how the assignment is set up. Like if it's a file upload, you have to actually click submit assignment before it takes you to the screen where you can attach your file that you're uploading, and then it has you click submit a second time on a different submit button. It's like a pop-up window. But if it's like a Google assignment, you can see it right on that assignment page. It makes a copy for you. You would type right in it and then click submit assignment. So don't be freaked out if you go to click submit assignment and you didn't attach anything. That's the first indicator of what it maps you to if you have to do a video recording to attach it, or a file upload, or an image attachment. You have to click submit assignment first.
So it's almost like I'm ready to submit. Now here's how I get started. So let me hit the submit button, and then it tells me what to do to finalize or formalize the submission. Okay.
Yes.
So one of the questions that went back to the rocket ships, I think, which I have not seen yet, but I'm excited to see the rocket ships. Why no grades, just the images? And is that because necessarily a teacher didn't grade that assignment, or why would you just see images and not grades?
It could be that it's ungraded. They do have the option as instructors to create like ungraded quizzes and assignments, or they can give them a point value, but the best place to look at your grades in Canvas is to just click on grades, and then you'll see all of your assignments and the grade that you got for them.
Another question was, and I believe I know the answer because I'm trying to map it, is do you have to go through your student's account to create an account as a parent? To get the pairing code, you have to go in through your student's account. Is that correct?
Yes, to get the pairing code, you do. Your child would need to log in and give you that code.
Okay. And the same parent still has a question about the grades. Maybe you could send us a screenshot, and then I will forward it of the teachers that you have a question on, and we'll look at it as a staff, but then we'll also forward it to Rochelle, because I will need to see what it looks like. Any other questions for my awesome guest star before she departs? And if you have questions, please don't hesitate to send them in. And if we don't know the answers, which is a little bit likely because it's brand new to us, we will forward them to Rochelle. But we are a very seasoned staff, so we are very comfortable saying we don't know and asking for help when we need it. So please know that we will always get expert answers for you. Okay. Yay. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for having me today.
Yes. Appreciate it. Yeah, round of applause in your living room. Nod, look at the person next to you. It was really nice of her to join us, give up her evening. Thank you very much.
Take care, everyone.
Bye. All right, so what you're looking at now, but before we do that, I was gonna ask Mr. Snyder to lead us, but we'll do it anyway. If you would take a moment and cross midline, crossing midline helps wake your brain up. You just had a lot of information, and I need your brain back with me. Yes, the bigger you do it, actually, the more impactful it is. But again, some of you have heard me say it 16 times. If you're in a meeting and you're like falling asleep, you just kind of like, oh, my ear itches. Oh, wait, this one itches too. And at least cross a little bit. You can be very low key about it. Don't do it in front of me though, because now I know, but yeah. So here's your bell schedule. You've seen it probably a bazillion times because I've probably over communicated this year, but I don't know if you can over communicate, but please keep reading my emails. I don't know why this AM is so big. Sorry about that. But Monday and Tuesday, basically they are in person, 1st through 6th hour, and then they're virtual Wednesday through Friday. And then the reverse is like B group will come in Thursday, Friday, get the same lesson that the Monday, Tuesday group got, and then their virtual will be after that. So as a staff, we're still trying to figure out how we really want to do the virtual piece. And so we're kind of just like good teaching, we're letting teachers decide what works best for them. So for example, you might be in chemistry and you might have a packet that's due over the course of a couple days. And so Ms. Maddalena might hand it to you, you know, it'll be all sanitized and everything, but you'll have it to take home. And that might be what you're working on for 3 days. It might not necessarily come through Canvas. Or a teacher might post on Monday in their Canvas because they're giving you the whole unit for the whole week and saying, this is what we're going to do in class on Monday, this is what we're going to do in class on Tuesday, and then here's what you're finishing Wednesday through Friday. Or a teacher might post just on Thursday and it's due Friday. Each teacher is going to kind of do and kind of experiment with, but you will have ample time to complete your assignments. But I am encouraging you to log in right away, especially starting if you're that Monday, Tuesday group. Make sure you're hitting it on Thursday to see what's actually due by the end of the day on Friday, or maybe it'll be due the next day coming on Monday, but really start to monitor what's happening. Your teachers, I know, because I've been in all these rooms ready to wash desks in full gear, and I've heard them tell you what's going to show up in Canvas. So make sure you're listening at the end of the hour. I would write things in your agenda or type into your agenda, however you do it, to remind yourself to go look at whatever they told you is going to show up in Canvas, or nothing's going to show up in Canvas this week because I handed it to you. So you will, the bottom line is, you will have 2 days of live instruction and you will have work to do when you're home. That's really what it comes down to. Whether that is work we handed you at school or work that comes through Canvas, don't think that those days are off. Wednesday, we're going to try to do a lot of our social emotional stuff. We're going to try to do some focus stuff. We'll see how that plays out. Town halls and stuff like that would be on Wednesdays because I kind of have everybody together. And my expectation is that your student logs into that because that's part of how we build community and part of how I give information out to the masses. If a student has a college conflict, that's different, but it's hard to get engagement sometimes through screen. But please, I forgot I was talking to parents instead of just students. So parents, please remind your students that they will have 2 days of live instruction, and my expectation is they're working on school Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, especially since they're in college classes, right? And this is kind of how the college world works. You meet in person, you have time to work on stuff at home. So they're just getting a chance to get a jump start on that before their college schedule will start to fill out. Okay, so here is my piece though, and some of it is for your students, but some of it is a gentle reminder to parents. I am one. Attendance is still an extremely important part of the school year. So last year at the end of the school year, the pandemic piece, attendance was like, phew, out the window. It is absolutely 100% not this school year. So it's actually more critical. We will be audited. I guarantee it. I already talked to my auditor. I know we're going to be audited. They want to make sure that in the midst of what they call 98A pandemic learning, that you can account for students coming to school, whether that's in person or whether that's through some asynchronous or virtual means. But I have to keep meticulous records. So I need to make sure that students are in school, especially since there's only 2 days live. It's hard to miss those 2 days because you miss the setup for the virtual piece or for the at-home piece. We're not changing our attendance rules. If your student is absent, or will be marked absent if they're 10 minutes late to school, because now our classes are only 50 minutes instead of 60. So if your student comes in after 10 minutes, don't be surprised if you see us mark that student absent, because I can't really tell the state that they were there for the full learning segment. Now, things are going to happen where a student's going to miss school. I totally get it. But please work hard to hit like 7:53 as your start time for first hour, right? I know some of you are trying not to drop off too early, but if we get to 7:53, we're good. Because I expect instruction to start at 8 from these teachers because we only have 50 minutes. And so even if you come in late, you missed the launch, and that's hard to catch up on. So after 10 minutes, we're marking you absent. Please call the main office though to excuse the absence or the tardy. That's important for us. So any questions for me on attendance? Okay. All right, now we get to the very exciting part of our session here, which is where you get to meet the staff. Woohoo! So you've heard about these people. You've heard how amazing they are. You've heard about different personalities. You've heard how you can hear Heffelbower from anywhere on the campus. Whatever the case is, right? You have heard about these teachers. So I want to make sure that you get a chance to meet them. Now, everyone was not able to be here this evening. I will kind of go through the list a little bit. So Ms. Hartz, who is our new social worker, replaced Ms. Campbell. Moment of silence. Ms. Campbell actually went to some fancy position where she's running a portion of the district now, one of the online pieces. And so Ms. Hartz, who's amazing, is here with us. She had to take a slight leave of absence for some family things, but she will be back with us in force come next week. You're gonna meet Heffelbower. Ms. Kelly runs the school. Like, I'm the face of the school. She runs the school. So she's our wonderful secretary. And then Ms. Petoskey is another teacher teacher consultant who's not able to be here. Some of our students with 504s or IEPs might have conversations with Ms. Petoskey each week. And then Mrs. Ramiro is our new Spanish teacher. Those of you that have Spanish, you sent me some questions in the Google form. I have been logging students into Edgenuity. Our Spanish 1 students will be like a virtual course, like there's a teacher from Edgenuity, they'll be teaching them. That will be set up soon, but don't worry, they'll have plenty of time to finish. And then Miss Ramiro is doing something very exciting for me with Spanish 2. So she's going to be the teacher on record, and what she gets to do is take the Edgenuity Spanish 1 curriculum and the Edgenuity Spanish 2 curriculum and blend them for our Spanish 2, because people ended in the middle of March, which means they didn't really finish all of Spanish 1. If you're a Spanish 3 or 4 student, you'll be put in an online class. I don't have Miss Ramiro for more than 1 hour, and I have 25 students in Spanish 2, so that's where I'm dedicating her time. I've spoken with her. She's fabulous. I'm excited. And then you'll get to meet everybody else. Is there like a weird "are there" toy? What is that? Ignore that. I can see it in the chat. Thank you. It is not toy, or it's toy. Okay. If students finish all virtual on Monday for B groups, do they still have to log in on Tuesday or to get the mark present? Ooh, good question. So for attendance, if your student is B group, we are taking, actually teachers have, like, any of you that are out there, like the old school attendance books that are like have the tiny little spiral, right? They're literally with a pencil marking students present. It will also go into PowerSchool, but I can't even get into the people counting of why PowerSchool doesn't count for our auditing. But if they, as long as they complete their assignments in the asynchronous world, we're good. I will let you know if I need your student to log in at a specific time to mark attendance. We are doing our attendance really with completion of work. It doesn't have to happen at a certain time in the asynchronous world, but also being live. Live is the most important piece for our auditor. Thank you for that question. All right, so let's get down to business. Here we go. Mr. Heffelbower, you go first.
Thank you, Ms. Newman. I am Mr. Heffelbower. I get a chance to do the geometry class. I do the physics class. I do the pre-calculus class. And I also do focus 9, 10, 11 with Mr. Snyder. So geometry, we get to extend some of the stuff from Algebra 1. We look at shapes and how they can look at logic and transformations of shapes, trying to just get them launched into that next level. A little different look at mathematics. We get to dive into that logic piece a little bit more emphatically that you don't get to do as much in some of the other times. Physics, study of matter and energy. We get to do Newton's laws. We get to do projectile motion. It's a great class where I get to throw stuff across the room. It's fantastic. But it's a big room, so I miss everyone. Also, we'll do some work with momentum, energy. We'll get into some discussions about, hopefully, we'll get into some good discussions about time and space. In fact, just the other day, we were talking about the infinite universe. And so we got on a little tangent talking about that, but we get a chance to kind of take a look at how physics applies in the world. My big goal is to get them to kind of see these science concepts in the world around them. Pre-calculus, setting the stage for their next step. Most of them after pre-calculus will either go to college algebra at the college, or they'll go to Calc 1. And so we spent some time kind of making sure they got all the base, the good foundation, and kind of get the head start into those next classes. Focus 9, 10, 11 is also a great thing that I'm teaching with Mr. Snyder. And we'll get a chance to embed some of those great pieces that make OEC that highly touted school that we have luckily been able to be. We'll focus on social emotional pieces. We'll look at kind of making sure they're helping along with their college classes and know what they're doing that way. And we'll have some fun exploring some interesting uses of technology since we have to do it so much. So that's me, and I'm excited with for this year with the students.
I feel like I have to hand the mic off, but I couldn't click on mute. I kept clicking on Lindsay's mute, and she's probably unmuted now. I mean, Miss Krauser, I apologize. But actually, maybe she did it because she's next. But thank you, Mr. Heffelbower. That's the Mr. Heffelbower. So if you've heard about him, woo, now you've seen him. Okay, Krauser.
Hello, everybody. I'm Mrs. Krauser. This year, I am teaching Civics first semester, Econ second semester, English 12, Focus 12, kind of pairing up with Miss Maddalena, and World History. For Civics, we really worked as a PLC between myself and the high school teachers from West Bloomfield. We've worked to really rewrite that curriculum, talking a lot about the government, a lot about today's current issues and the upcoming election, and why things are so polarized and how they got there. And I hope, because we're in person, we have an awesome opportunity to have those engaging discussions, not through a screen, but face to face. And really understand the perspective from the other side and come to an understanding that it's okay to agree to disagree, but to be able to understand where the other side is coming from. For English 12 this year, we're working right now on a lot of grammar and a lot of different technology opportunities and ways to use technology. We're also going to be doing some literature analysis. And everyone's favorite, we'll be writing essays and essays and essays, and they're so excited to annotate and write essays. In Focus 12, Miss Maddalena and I are working right now on doing a little bit of test prep to get them ready to jump into that SAT next week head first and ready to go, kind of dust off those cobwebs that built up over the last 6 months. And then we're working on a lot of social emotional things and working on how to adult and what that looks like. I've turned that noun into a verb because I think it's important that they learn how to be a productive member going forward and how to write a check and how to balance a checkbook and things like that, how to have productive conversations. And because we're, again, in person, we have the opportunity to make shifts and changes based on the kids in front of us. So it's a really fun and exciting class this year. For World History, I again have been working with the PLCs at the high school tirelessly over the summer and still now during my preps and things. And we've rewritten this class, thrown out a lot of the really old stuff so that we can bring a lot more of the present into the class. So all of the how did humans come to be and what is the evolution of the human being, we kind of threw all of that out. And we're hoping to be able to focus a lot on, during second semester, on the current world and the current conflicts in the world, what the history of them are, why they're where they are today, and where they could potentially go in the future. But it's a really fun class because we get to look at all of the different areas of the world from one end of the globe to the other.
Thank you very much, Ms. Krauser. Moving on to Dun dun dun, Maddalena.
Hey, welcome participants to our curriculum night. I am Mrs. Maddalena, and this year I am teaching both biology and chemistry. We have a little bit of a setback in that we are not able to use the laboratories at the college, but we will be making up for that through either virtual work or some things that I may ask students to do at home, or things that I can pull together in the classroom. So no worries, we will compensate for that loss at this time. One of the things that I would like to convey to parents and students this year is that I'm extremely interested in pushing the idea of students being scientifically literate, which means that they know more than just vocabulary, but they can actually understand the process and the application to the world around them, especially in the day and age that we are surrounded with now. So it is one of our primary opening focuses is to address the idea of getting students to be curious about the world and try to understand what's happening around them, both from the biological standpoint and from the chemistry standpoint. So those are important aspects to me this year. And I'm sure most of you have heard in the news where everybody's relying on the science. So we need to make sure we understand what science is. So those are some topics that we're kicking off the school year with. In Focus 12, just want to add the same things that Mrs. Krauser was stating, that we are really working on helping those grade 12 students develop socially and emotionally, and giving them the support they need to do that as they transition to more college classes and less high school classes. Also, trying to provide the support that they might need to access, such as through the online tutoring and the access or additional support that they have through the college. Additionally, we are going to focus on some of their character skills. So building character and what traits they need to become good, productive citizens that are responsible and engaged in the world around them. And we also are going to focus on helping them bridge the gap that they just had with the connections to other people. So I think we're really focused at the beginning of this year is how can we engage with these students and get them to be conversationalists, because for so long we have been behind screens, and we need to be able to interact and develop our interpersonal skills. And lastly, in 13th seminar, my focus is always in 13th seminar to help those 13th grade students transition into the world of college or career, depending on their choice, and be as well prepared as possible while also meeting all of their graduation requirements. So those 13th grade students will be completing professional portfolios, gathering information about college and career options, working on college applications if they are choosing to, working on a budget project, and producing their capstone project that is a requirement for graduation, while also eventually completing their internships to earn their MEMCA certificates for graduation as an early college student. That is the end of my spiel. Thank you very much.
Yay, thank you, thank you, thank you. What you'll find is in 13th grade, I hand parenting off to Miss Maddalena, and then she takes over from there. Miss Bellairs is still always the non-judgmental aunt, but I do hand parenting off at that time. Moving to David Snyder. Woo!
Hello, everybody. All right, so I'm teaching 3 classes this year. Algebra 2, Formal Topics, and Focus. So we'll start with Focus because everyone's been talking about that. In Focus, I'll be kind of co-teaching with Kyle Heffelbower. Kind of introduced it already a little bit. But yeah, majorly, like, we're trying to help people navigate their college courses, navigate life after college courses, and everything in between. This year, definitely a focus is on creating some professional content using technology, possibly a class podcast or 2. So that's what we're looking forward to this year in Focus. In Algebra 2, this is going to be the last of the 3 math sequence where you started with Algebra 1, geometry, and now students are in Algebra 2, focusing on functions, parent graphs, taking their math to the next level. From there, they will get to decide on taking formal topics or pre-calc. In formal topics, we are focusing on getting students ready to take college level math. Because for some of them, they don't need to go through Calc 1, Calc 2. They just probably have to get through college algebra, again, depending on the program that they're going into. So formal topics is tailor fitting the curriculum to make sure that they are getting the college level work, so that they are ready to attack those classes when they get there. So that's a little bit what I'm doing this year, and I am excited for this year and getting to know all my students.
Thank you very much. And our newest recruit, may I please introduce you to Mr. Stephen Toy.
Hello, welcome. Can you give me a thumbs up? Is my microphone engaged? Okay, great. Thank you. So I'm the newest faculty member at Oakland Early College. I'm glad to be here. I'm teaching American literature, world literature, and U.S. history this year. I've spent the last 17 or 18 years of my career at West Bloomfield High School, and I've been watching OEC grow throughout the years. I'm really happy with the way the school is functioning, and I give all of these teammates a really big round of applause for making school happen. It's really nice to be in a building with students after 6 months of not having students in front of us. It's a really big change for everybody. So thank you for sending your students to school. They've been very ready to socially distance and wear masks and adhere to all of the new provisions that we have to have in place to keep people safe. It is a little harder to communicate without masks. Even in this setting, it's interesting to see my colleagues without a mask on the face. When the students are talking to us, sometimes it's a challenge. I think we've all become lip readers as professional teachers, because in a room of 20 or 30 students, reading lips is sometimes the only way you can really zero in on one person. And without that visual information, the classroom environment is a different place for all of us. But we're doing our best. On that note, I'm teaching a lot of first and second year students this year at OEC, and they're new to the program and I'm new to the program. And I'm coming at this school year with the idea that I'll be growing and changing as a learner and as a teacher. And I know your students are going through that same process of growing and changing and becoming a new learner. And I'm really glad to help them do that in social studies and English this year. If you have any questions, please send me an email. That's always the best way. I'll try to turn around an answer very quickly to help you. And we're all doing really interesting work right now. It's not at all what we expected when we became teachers. And so I thank you for your patience, and I thank you for sending your kids to school. It's nice to be creating a school environment for our young people. It's a really important social growth year for all of us. And we're going to take care of each other, and we're going to have a really good year. So if you have any individual questions, please send me an email, and I look forward to helping your student grow and learn this year. Thank you.
Yay! Our teaching staff, round of applause. You're going to meet Miss Bellairs, but everybody's met Miss Bellairs, but yay, it's teaching staff. Couple things I wanted to tag on. First of all, Stephen, that was a very nice summary of why students are in school. Thank you so much. I do want to, there was a couple questions in the chat about those days when they're not with us live. Like Stephen talked about, it's so nice that you're sending us your students. We are not expecting your student to sit in front of a computer from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. because that is not, we don't have to do school that way, because I get to, we get to see your students live. Now, with that being said, there might be some assignments that take students longer than others. So they might be sitting in a screen to complete something, but they're not sitting like 8, you go to this class, 9, you go to this class, 10, you go to this class online like some schools are doing, because we don't have to do school that way. So I just want to make sure that I'm clear about that. I'm just checking to, okay, yep. See, my husband asked me if I'm still on the call because he's holding the dog, so just a second. Yes, I am. Okay, so I also want to talk about, Stephen mentioned masks. Our students are doing a great job of hand washing. They do a great job of social distancing, and masks, they all have them. But if you could please remind your student, and you're going to see some videos come home from me that talk about proper use of masks. They really do have to be worn over the nose. And I know sometimes they slide. So if you're finding that there's a mask that's sliding, maybe it's time to get a different mask because everybody's faces fit differently. We always have masks available too. So they're just, the ones that you buy in the pack that go over, that have the bendable thing that go behind the ears. But they really do need to cover the nose. The only time that we should see anybody's face is when they're eating and then we're way spread out or they're outside. So literally make sure we talk about noses. Otherwise, it's kind of like we did all this work and it was like, darn it, for nothing. So just wanted to give that point. Okay, so Miss Bellairs, it is your turn.
Hi everyone, I am Miss Bellairs. I'm the school counselor. I probably have met all of you, whether it's over Zoom this summer or in past years. But just to kind of like recap the things that I do, I can meet with students one-on-one. We can talk about whether it's academic concerns, personal concerns, emotional concerns, that's what I am here for. And that is still true now. So like students are welcome in my office at any point. That's been a really nice thing about being back in person is I get to see people in person because trying to connect over Zoom is just, as we talked about, much harder. So it's really nice to see students in person. But I can also still meet with students over Zoom. So I know sometimes in their schedule, it just doesn't work out where we can meet one-on-one. And I can be pretty flexible and meet with students, after 2 o'clock on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, or on Wednesdays too. So I'm really accessible. We do have to meet, just as a reminder, myself and the students 3 times a year. So we meet before the start of every college semester to talk about how many credits they'll be allowed to take that following semester at OCC. I can give some general suggestions or tips as to what classes they could fit. And then once we meet, then they meet with an OCC counselor. Really important thing to remember is to have your meeting with me and an OCC counselor as soon as it's available, because what some students could probably testify to is that they waited really late to sign up for classes this semester, had very few options available to them. So the earlier you can get out, the better, and I'll send out reminders when it's time to do that. I'll also send out updates through like a monthly newsletter. And then I have a Twitter that I will post updates on as well. So those are just some like the ways that you can get a hold of me on top of email and phone calls. So while I am in my office, I'm also, with Miss Newman, we're like cleaning off the desks, helping out with like lunch and stuff like that. So sometimes emails can be the quickest way to get a hold of me. So that's just something to keep in mind, but I can always call you back as well. And so then just like to kind of talk about those testing updates, just to reinforce that, since that is coming up next week. I can see Miss Newman's dog, is that, so that SAT is this next Wednesday, the 23rd. Students will need to get to West Bloomfield High School. So it's not at OEC, it's at West Bloomfield High School by 7:40 in the morning. And it's really important that you arrive on time because we don't have a backup room, like a late arrival room, and we don't have a backup date. So if you show up at 8:15 and the doors are closed, you will not be able to take the test. So it's super important to be on time, if not early, on those dates. For the students who have accommodations, so those are students who have an IEP or a 504 and they have already been approved for accommodations through the College Board, those will still be honored. They will always be honored through the College Board. And I'll send out an email just as a reminder for that. For students who have time and a half accommodations, you will be testing on both Wednesday and Thursday. That's just a really important thing to remember, is that you're not just testing Wednesday, you do need to be back at the West Bloomfield High School 7:40 in the morning on Thursday as well. For students who are taking the NMSQT or the PSAT 9 and are new, we may have not been able to put your accommodations into College Board yet, but your accommodations would be approved and set for the spring. So that's just an important thing to remember. So that's just kind of a little refresher on testing. Yeah, that's my piece. I will also, once like school is back into a normal setting, I also contact parents when a lot of absences have occurred, so we can get on top of that and see if there's any way we can help you. But if you ever need anything, especially since I know life has probably changed a lot in the last 6 months, so if there's any ways that OEC can better support you and your student, please reach out to me or any of us, and we can try to do whatever possible to help support you and your family.
Thank you very much. Now, I know that was a lot of information. We are recording it. I'm sure you want to watch it again just to see the beginning part where we were having some technology issues, but we are recording it, so you can watch it again. One of the questions, what grade do students take the SAT? We are required to give the SAT to, in the spring, our 11th graders. This year, we're giving it to the 12th graders and the 13th graders because actually they were supposed to test with us in the spring and they didn't. But moving forward in the normal world, you would take the SAT, the school would give you the SAT one time for free in 11th grade in the spring, and then you can take it as many times as you want. After that, on your dime, I encourage students to take the ACT as well. My daughter did much better in the ACT than the SAT. Anyone want to comment on that? PSAT, there's a PSAT 8-9, And then 10 and 11 take the PSAT. I'm sorry, 10 takes the PSAT in the spring, but 10 and 11 can take the PSAT in the fall. Did I mess that up? If I did, please unmute. Everyone is like pretty good. Okay. October 29th is a Thursday. What happens when kids are in group B? Nice. If you've done True Colors, parent that asked, I bet you are a gold. So we will have a virtual, that will not be a day that we are live in school because our whole staff will be testing. So I will be sending you an updated calendar because I'm adjusting for the fact that teachers are all giving the test on Wednesday, the 23rd coming up. So therefore, actually, that Thursday is going to be a virtual day, but it balances our next Monday. You'll see it in the calendar because we have a day off for Jewish holiday. And then the 29th, we will not have session for B group on Thursday, but that next week we don't have session for A group on Tuesday because of election day. So it kind of balances out, but it'll just be a virtual learn at home day. Students would only come live one day a week. I don't know why I'm talking to the text box. I should be talking to the camera. Sorry about that. Yes, that is the answer to that question. Okay, moving on. So we made a decision as a school last year to move away from the PTSA, which is this formal organization, because as a small school, they took a lot of our money for one thing, and we weren't large enough organization to see the same benefits as some of the larger school districts. So we have what's called our parent involvement team. And so I have a small group of parents that are my pit crew. Ha ha ha, yeah, right. And so they're my pit crew. And so they will be pushing stuff out to you. Something that is very exciting, and I'm going to try to do a screencastify for the first time. So we'll see how that goes. I will get my teachers to assist me. I'm going to actually show you a new feature we have, which is very exciting, where you can go through our website. You'll see eFunds at the top of the website. You click on it, you can set up an account, and you can donate as much money to us as you want through the computer. You don't have to send checks in anymore. Those of you that have been here for a while, you don't have to turn in the activities fee in cash. You can literally do it through the computer. And our right now, our parent involvement team is trying to organize a road rally, and there will be a cost to that because it costs money, and there will be some prizes, but it also will be a small fundraiser for the parent involvement team, which then, of course, like the PTSA, spends the money right back on students and staff. But you'll be able to see links in there to just give us money, which is amazing, instead of sending checks in, which to me is safer because Ms. Kelly doesn't need to handle all of the cash and doesn't need to handle all the checks. But I'm going to try to do a screencastify to show off that feature. So I will get help from my team because they have done a lot with that. Next slide. And this is my launch. So one of the things that, like when you're doing all the formal fancy training, they talk about launching your group. And so here is my launch to you. I'm trying to bring everything back around to where we started, which again is reminding you that it's all about the experience. It's not reading stuff online. It's not learning stuff in isolation. True education does not consist merely in the acquiring of a few facts of science, history, literature, or art, but in the development of character. And character development comes through interaction. And so OEC is not just a school, it is an experience. And we are extremely excited to provide this experience for your students. Thank you very much. If you have any other questions, please put them in the chat, but everybody has my number, everybody has my email. Feel free to email out to the teachers too. Good question. So one of the questions is, if we're only in school 2 days a week, how will the full curriculum be completed? So remember that we are able to provide learning the other 3 days, it's just not in person. And so now the curriculum will be trimmed a little bit, not as trimmed as it was last year with the pandemic just hitting. But the teachers are definitely still teaching the curriculum. And so they will complete the requirements from the state for each of their courses. But remember, it's based on live sessions in addition to work that is assigned. One of the things you're going to find about OEC, especially if you're a new parent, is that we do not believe that rigor equals tons of homework. Okay, that is not who we are as a school. We believe if a course is rigorous, then you're going to do well in the next course. So for example, I use chemistry as an example. Chemistry is a rigorous course. It doesn't have a ton of homework. There's this vault that Miss Maddalena has you create. And our students that have done well in her chemistry class take chemistry at the college and do extremely well. To me, that means her course is rigorous. So we don't define rigor by a ton of homework or busy time at home acquiring information, but you will see us give learning in person and see us give learning for home time to supplement the in-person time. So no worries, your student will still have a rigorous academic experience, I promise. Let's see. Oh, okay, thank you. One of my PIT crew members that mentioned Slack. Slack is kind of like this really cool free portal that instead of sending emails back and forth, it's kind of like a message board. So everything you need to know is there. So I will try to work Slack into my Screencastify, but I think I only get a certain number of minutes. But again, I'll get help on that. But Slack, if you look up Slack, you will see us there. Will students be given a locker? Nope, no lockers at OEC. Yeah, nope. Backpack, and part of that is, again, it's just, first of all, it's one more thing to clean. But also we don't have space for lockers. So there are no lockers at OEC. There never have been, and there never will be lockers, just there's no space for it. Anything else before we depart? I want to thank you again for having your students attend OEC, which for you is one excellent choice. It has been our pleasure to be here. We're usually live. So you usually get to chat with some of you afterwards, but again, please don't hesitate to reach out through email. Please continue to stay safe. Please, let's not let our guard down, right? We've been in school for a really long time, I think. I'm excited, but let's stay strong. Washing of hands, mask wearing, all of that stuff, and we will stay engaged in that process as well. Thank you very much. A new experience has begun, and we are thrilled to be experiencing the fall school year with your students. With that being said, have a